I'm joined by former Tipperary football goalkeeper Paul Fitzgerald to talk about the fairly stunning news that Colin O'Riordan has been made available for the Munster football final against Cork. And Colin, you played with Colin for one season, Paul. How big of a boost is this? Now, he's been training with Tipperary for a couple of weeks, but the thoughts were that he wasn't going to get dispensation to play from his AFL club. It's a huge boost, isn't it?
Yeah, big boost. Especially, I suppose, where we're all sweating a bit on Stephen and Jack's fitness leading into the final. But a big boost, like you said, and it's probably better off now that it's after breaking early, because the last thing the lads want and management want is a bit of a circus around it. And as you said, there certainly won't be any circus, or it won't affect preparations within the camp either, because he's been training away with them and been involved the last few weeks. And big boost. And I suppose from what I know, Colin was anxious to play. He was mad to play. It just had to be right for him and for his career with Sydney, and to get the clearance to play it. But now that that's happened, it's great.
Yeah,
great.
and do you see him being able to slot straight into the team? Is that good or bad? I know he's been involved with the panel for a few weeks, so that's obviously a boost. It's not like he's coming in out of nowhere. But could you just parachute him straight in?
It's hard to know. How much work he's possibly done with the lads, even though he's been there. Has he been in full contact? Was he allowed to be in full contact training? Who knows? But just purely from the leadership skills he has and the professionalism he's probably brought to it as well. It's all positive. Whether he slots straight into the team or how the lads use him remains to be seen. I suppose it's hard to know.
Yeah, and I've heard these stories of, like, in his more or less first year, he's standing up in the dressing room and he's giving speeches at Tipperary football, at senior level. Is that true? Can you sum up this leadership that I keep hearing about?
He's just a special player and a special young fella. Where, like, I still refer to him as a young fella, because even.
Just breaking up there, Paul. I'm not sure if you can still hear me.
And even in the minor team, like, he was still under 6 that year, and he very much it was a leader of the team and led by example. And I remember the day, a game that still haunts me. My last year playing was his first year. We should have beaten Cork in the old Parky Keeve. I think it was one of the last games there. We had him with 10 minutes to go and we let it slip. But, like, leading up to that game and at half time of that game, he was very much a voice in the dressing room at such a young age. So I think it's just his mentality. He's driven. He's so driven and wants the best from himself and the best from the lads around him, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, it just broke up there for a second, so hopefully you can still hear me. But, like, when he got that All-Star nominee the first season, 2014, when he was involved, was that any surprise to you, or are you just like, he's this good, it's not surprised that he'd do it so quickly?
No. For anyone involved in football, like I said, from his younger days, you could see he was a special talent. He was, he had all the attributes to make it. And when you have the talent, like, it's one thing, but when you have that mentality he has to go with it, you almost have the perfect player. Like, he would never admit that himself as well. He's modest enough to keep driving himself to those heights. You see it probably with Sydney as well. He's, at times, it probably looks that he's finding it hard to get into the first team, or he's people would say, is he ever going to make it? But, like, he just won't give up on that. Like, he'll just keep driving and driving it. It takes a bit of time. That injury he had where he broke a few ribs and punctured a lung there a few years ago as well probably set him back 12 months. But again, he's just totally driven to get back from that and not even stop him. He won't leave anything stop.
Were you shocked when you heard that he was after getting the dispensation?
Maybe a little bit. Like I said, everything had to be in place to be right for Colin. Like, it's one thing Colin wanted to play and wanted to be involved in training with the lads, but it's not as if he's coming from, like, even hurling or soccer or anything like that. This is his career, so everything had to be right. I think once everything was right and he was happy, it was fine. And the management obviously were leaving that side of it probably up to him, and obviously with whoever was involved in Sydney. And now that it has, like, it's not a surprise, but it's good for us, and it's good that things have worked out.
Is there a little bit of a risk in a sense that people I suppose most people would expect Colin O'Riordan to come in, hit the ground running, and pick up from where he left off from 2015 when he was, brilliant. But the reality might be more similar to, I mean, take out Mark Keane scoring the winning goal last week, coming back from Collingwood, coming in and getting the winner against Kerry. But like his performance, he wasn't really in the game up until that point. I mean, obviously that's, it's brilliant, it worked out. But people can't just expect Colin to hit the ground running and take over the game.
No, and if you touched on the Cork and Kerry game, like, can you even remember another touch that Mark Keane got in the game?
No, not really.
Yeah, so, that worked out well, and it's probably unfair to be looking for a complete performance from him, come in and he's not going to win it on his own. Like, it's so many other things have to go right for us on Sunday week. Like, but the fact that the Mark Keane thing probably triggered something again in it all. All the lads have, they're after having a few games in a row now, which will stand to them, like championship games. And it's been great, that momentum, like to come in for a final with no game played, at that level is a big ask, like. But I mean, if there's anyone capable of doing it, probably it is Colin. But it's still a big ask,
Yeah, and were you impressed with Tipperary in the win over Limerick after extra time? I mean, it also came down to Seamus O'Carroll missing a pretty simple mark at the end, but Conor Sweeney's point to bring it to extra time. It's a world away from beating Kerry, which Cork have done, but still in all, are you impressed with where Tipper are at?
Yeah, look, obviously that first half performance was nowhere near what they would have wanted. And give Limerick credit. Like, Limerick are on a roll this year. They've won the McGrath Cup. They've won Division 4. So they're no slouches anymore. They've gone through barren years and fought battles in Limerick similar to what we'd fight, trying to get up the levels. And it's tough going getting out of Division 4. So they were always going. And the one thing Limerick always have against Tip is they've no fear against it. So it was always going to be a bit of a battle in the background. Obviously, the first half was awful. And whatever happened at half time. The positive thing for me out of it all was often in the past we haven't recovered from bad starts like that. You'd find it hard to come back and win a game. And they hung in there, and two bits of brilliance probably from Conor and from Foxy near that end kind of got him over the line. And obviously your man had a chance at the minute to send it to penalties. But I just felt they got themselves back into it and recovered well enough, which is a good sign of a team, because normally we kind of tend to lose games like that.
And do you feel that Tip have a good chance of winning this? It's 1935 since the blue and gold ribbons were around that cup, and of course it's going to be wearing the white jersey with the green band this time with the commemoration of Bloody Sunday. But do you give Tip a fighting chance in this game?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I think we've seen over the last few years with this team that when they're at it, they're a match for anybody. It's the frustrating part of it is when they don't seem to be playing well, they tend to make wrong decisions in games. They become almost I won't say an average team, but they're just not at it. When they're not at it, they become beatable, very beatable. Now look, we're up against, as you said, we've only beaten Cork once in 80 odd years, so it's going to be a huge ask. The other thing is Cork will be ready for Tip, and now with Colin available, it's probably even going to have him more focused. In fairness to the players and the management, I don't think their focus has changed at all since full time against Limerick. They've been preparing for a performance in the Munster final, whether it was Cork or Kerry. I don't think that's changed. Obviously, media and supporters and the likes of myself would openly say, obviously we have a better chance, I think, of beating Cork than we would have beaten Kerry. But from a players and managed point of view, when you're up against the big two like that, you have no choice only to concentrate on your performance, because that's all you have against tradition and against history like that. It's still a big ask, but it's still possible. If the boys perform to their max, very much possible a game to be won. And we just have to get to that level of performance where you almost after the game you'll take any result then, because you'll know you're after giving it. But we have to get to that level.
In 2016 when Tipperary got to the All-Ireland semi-final and had that win over Cork along the way, the first time in donkey's years, it all felt like it's moving in the right direction for Tipperary. But then certain players went away. Peter Atchison went out to the Middle East. Colin Reardon had obviously left already. Stephen O'Brien went to the Hurlers for a while. Different things kind of conspired against Tipperary. It's kind of like it's probably an unexpected boost to be in this position going into a Munster final. You know, Colin O'Riordan coming back. David Power, I suppose, has been central to that as well. He would have had a lot of these players underage too. But it probably is unexpected for Tip football to find itself in this position again. 2 games away from an All Ireland final, by the way.
Yeah, and it's obviously, look, it's been a mad year regarding everything this year. And when the draw was made, you know, David and the management team and the players would have been happy with that draw. And obviously, if pre-COVID, it was a great draw to get if we got to the final. And, you know, even lose the final, you still 1 game away from the Super 8. So there was a massive carrot there. And, you know, as I said, the way things have turned out now, it's basically an Ireland quarter final as well. So, you know, it's a huge opportunity. It's just, I hope the lads, I know it's an old saying, just play the game and not the occasion. It's a huge occasion as well with the bloody Sunday commemoration, and the boys will be wearing that jersey, and it's just, you know, it's something really for them to look forward to. Just hope they relax and enjoy it and play the game and not that occasion. You know?
And if Tipperary are to win this game, how do you think they can win it? Is it get enough ball into the hands of Quinlivan and Conor Sweeney?
Yeah, a big question was where will Mikey play? Will he be playing inside for spells? Will he play inside all the time, or will he play at 11? Like, you don't. That will have a bit of a bearing on it. But look, ultimately it'll be the middle third. Tip have to improve on their own kickouts. Cork will press us. There's no doubt about that. They'll press. They'll try and put Evan under pressure. They'll try and make us go long. We're going to have to mix it up a bit. We're going to have to. You know, get at least break even in periods of the game and get on top in that middle third, in order to feed the forward line. Like we have class forwards. Like, it's just, can we get enough ball to get enough scores? If you think back to 2016 in Thurles when we beat them, more or less every game, bar a missed penalty by Peter Atchison and maybe 1 wide from play, we nailed everything else. Everything went to plan as regards could we get enough scores to beat them? And that day, like, more or less, as I said, apart from that missed penalty and maybe 1 other wide, like, we shot the lights out. Similarly to the league game back in March, if I think it was, against Cork as well, we went with that more attacking style, and it almost worked. Very unlucky to lose that game, but hit 21 or 22 points. So something similar like that will be required. But like I said, they're well capable of doing it. Like.
And one actually question I'm thinking of, because you were a goalkeeper yourself there for a number of years for Tipperary and Fethard. Do you look at the conditions at the moment and think, I wouldn't dare go short? You know, we saw what happened with Owen Gallagher for Donegal, gifting that ball to Darragh Canavan. He scored a goal. And I think Micheál Martin for Cork, I think it was something like 23 out of 26 kickouts he put long. Like, would you be putting everything long? And then coming to my head is, right, Colin O'Riordan going into the skies to catch a few balls would be no bad thing.
Yeah, obviously with the mark now in the middle of the field, there is more advantage to getting going long, and if you can claim possession, it's more of an advantage than maybe say it was a few years ago. But when myself and Brian Lacey used to do a lot of work on, particularly Brian on the strategies, and he used to often say winter football and summer ball is totally different. Some of the kicks you might have in place for a game in summertime wouldn't be there in wintertime necessarily, like, because wet greasy ball. You saw how bad the conditions were in the Cork and Kerry game, where you go short to a cornerback or a wing back, and you go through the hands playing it out. One bad touch, one slipped hand pass, you know, they're in for a goal. Like, so I often find it's a bit of cat and mouse. You're trying to maybe get 1 or 2 off short and make them press up so the space appears out further out the field, and try and get 1 or 2 long ones off, because I don't think you can go long all day, and I don't think you can go short all day. It's about getting that balance right.
Yeah,
but there's no doubt Cork will press our kickouts. There's no doubt about that.
And if the Kerry game is nothing to go by, there'll be a lot of cynical fouling, slowing things out the field. That's probably something. Yeah, will Tipperary just have to decide we're going to have to do the exact same thing? Because I'd imagine Cork will do that again.
Absolutely, yeah. And you could see traits maybe of Cian O'Neill inside that, where he's been involved with teams at the high level. They have to play on the edge to get over the line at times. So maybe that's something he's instilling them in, and it's something that the boys will be expecting. But again, they're well able to mix the two that way if they have to. You know, it's going to take a lot of things to get a win against Cork, and that will be definitely a part.
And two Tipperary lads previewing the Munster football final with Tip. We'll give Tip the nod, will we?
We will, Shay.
Great stuff, Paul. Really appreciate you joining me.
Okay, thanks for the call.